Welcome to the Dark Nook Monster Shop. Halloween being over means lots of cheap skeletons and pumpkins and parts of skeletons, some flat plastic skeleton hands and some legs from something or other. So let's kit bash a monster out of some of this stuff. First, this spider looks awesome, but the head is goofy AF. Good thing I only want the abdomen, so I take it apart. Although you will definitely see these legs in a future monster build. I want to use this spider abdomen as the rib cage with the pumpkin as a head, but not the pumpkin head. And these little legs will glue on perfectly to the plastic skeleton hands. So first, I wrap some floral wire around these legs and the torso to hold them together. Then I secure it in place with some hot glue. Now it's time to rock. I want to bend these fingers, which means using the heat gun, but heat guns are hot, so to keep these fingers from burning my fingers when they go all noodly, I lay the hand over a rock, so when the plastic heats up, it folds over the rock with more finger-like bends for a more realistic hand-like appearance instead of being all flat. But to do that, I still cut the thumb off completely and then reposition it and glue it back with hot glue. Then I repeat the same process for the other hand. Then I glue the hands to the legs, or the legs to the hands. But they're arms, though they were legs, so now they're arms because they're attached to the hands. Does being attached to hands make them into arms? Or are they still legs with hands instead of feet? Does that make the hands into feet? I don't know. Then I start on the head by drawing the jaw that I'm going to cut off and trim down. I draw the face on the pumpkin, and then cut out the eyes and the nose, and pick out some of the foam. Then I glue a wood spike to the rib cage to hold the head on. I also glue the arms in position and use the pumpkin to position them while the glue dries. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. If you're still watching at this point, please hit like and subscribe to the channel to see more from my monster shop. At this point, I decided to add a tail. So I took the tail from the dragon skeleton, then I tied it to the spider skeleton with floral wire and glued it in place with hot glue. Then I hit the inside of the foam pumpkin with a heat gun. Now it's time to sculpt. I start by covering the flat part on the back where the legs were attached. I blend in the tail with the line of the spine and up the back. I blend that off into the ribs and start building up the shoulders and arms. An awesome thing about foam clay is how easy it is to blend off into something like these plastic bones. With a little water and a brush, it smooths, blends, and takes texture really well. I sculpt in some rough basic spine shapes and then smooth them with water. Now I start on the legs. I add foam clay to form kind of a pelvis, and I start slapping some bits of clay here and there across the chest and the back, blending it in with water. I also use a paintbrush to push and shape and texture the clay. I want this thing to look as if it's made of vines or plant material that's growing in and around these bones and then animating them. I imagine there's this poison seed cursed by evil magic that's eaten by some poor creature, and it dies, and then it's consumed by the plant that's growing from this seed, and soon the plant has consumed most of the creature and uses what's left to create a body for itself. So I start building the arms and the hands. Sticking with the look of bones wrapped in layers of vine, I sculpt one layer, let it dry, and then I can come in and sculpt a new layer on top of that to create a really nice layered effect with a lot of depth. Then I make more vine layers. I also fill out the legs to look a little more like gnarly tree roots. But these feet already look like gnarly tree roots, so I really just have to paint them. I don't have to do any sculpting at all on the feet. Now I start on the face by building up the brows and the cheeks and the nose. I add in the bigger wrinkles and the broad shapes of the face, and then I fill out the nose. Then I use a brush and a little bit of water to shape and texture the clay. Once that's done, I let it dry, then I come back and start on the teeth, which I made earlier. If you watch my earlier videos, you'll see me making a lot of things that I end up using in later videos. I take the teeth and I poke them into the clay. I do the top jaw first and secure the positions of those teeth and let that dry. I'll then repeat the process for the lower jaw, and that makes it a lot easier to fit the two together. I position the lower jaw for the best fit. Then I need a toothpick. Cut in half, I poke both halves into the bottom jaw, like so. Then I can insert it into position. Once that's done, I secure the jaw with some hot glue. I'm going to sculpt a layer of lips over the top of this, so now is the time to paint the inside of the mouth, while it's all nice and open. I also paint a base coat of black over the whole piece. And I decided on a name, Pumpkin Monkey. Though, despite calling it Pumpkin Monkey, I also decided against giving him ears in order to make that head look more pumpkin-y-ish. I start the lips by filling in the corners of the mouth. Careful not to put too much clay in there, blending off the edges into the lines and wrinkles that I've already sculpted. I build up the areas where I'm going to shape the lips. Then I blend off the clay and add some rough pumpkin shapes. I shape out the lips by pulling the clay away and then pushing it back down on itself with the brush. Then I sculpt in some lines and wrinkles and smooth it all out with water. When that's all done, leave it to dry, and then it's time for more paint. I add another black base coat. Then I wet mix several shades of brown and green over the whole body and face to make the viney plant parts. This layer can be really sloppy because I'm going to come back in later and paint over it. And that'll give me an opportunity to clean up any overpainting. I paint the teeth and use the same color for the bones. This layer can also be a bit sloppy because I'm going to come back over it and clean it up later. I add brown around the edges and between the bones and vines. Then I airbrush on some oranges for a more pumpkin look, both on the head and the body. I dust orange over the top. Then I add some greens to highlight the vines and do that cleanup I was talking about of the overpainting. Then I go back in with black in the airbrush to really hit all those deep lines and wrinkles and really pop the contrast. I attach the head and secure it with some more hot glue. And then I use even more hot glue to glue the little yellow beady eyes in place, and I spray gloss Mod Podge over the eyes and mouth, and once it's dry, that's Pumpkin Monkey all done. Thanks for checking out my video, and if you like this one, you might like one of these, or click on my face and subscribe.